I've never actually met my best friends. I think about that a lot. I really do. I think it's crazy that even without a face, even without a voice, even without any of those physicalities, I can say that they're close to me. Makes you wonder what closeness or intimacy really is, what it means, and what it looks like. In fact, I met some of my best friends through anonymity on the internet. My offline friends would often tell me I'm spending too much time talking to my e-friends. They'll jokingly say things like, I'm spending too much time talking to my e-girls. Now, whether that be true or not is besides the point. But there are these terms like e-boys, e-sports, e-dating. The list goes on and on, really. It seems like that prefix, that e hyphen, means something. In a literal sense, the E hyphen stands for electronic. But conventionally, it's not used like that. There's this figurative ownership for this prefix. These anonymity-driven online communities use this E hyphen to stand out from their prefixless counterparts. That's why using the term e-culture is seemingly the easiest way for me to express that the traits of these online communities are, well, unique. They're unique in a way that benefits different types of people, whether it be a new way of tackling the mental health crisis, or providing a new form of stress relief, or simply just connecting people all around the globe. My goal is to show you that e-culture is something worth knowing about, and it's something worth caring about. I mentioned previously that I've met a lot of my friends on the internet. When they need help, I'm always there for them. Likewise, when I need help, they're always there for me. Often, we take this kind of security for granted. I'm no exception. But people in situations like mine are lucky. We're fortunate enough to have our support systems. But I've met plenty of people without them. Loneliness is an epidemic. But people don't need faces or voices or even real names to feel like someone is there. I met my best friend from game of League of Legends. Well, we actually lost that game, but because I was the only teammate that was not being mean to her, she added me afterwards, and me and Mina started to become really good friends. And as friends do, she started to open up about her problems. She shared things with me that she never told anybody else. She said that talking to me was just, well, easier. Through our shared anonymity, she gained enough comfort to finally open up about her problems, her mental health issues. Some say that seeking help is sometimes the hardest step someone with mental health issues can take. I'm proud to say that she took that step. I say that me and Mina started to become really good friends from the start, but we've known each other for 3 years now. And for the first year or so, I didn't even know her real name or where she lived. But despite that, I was able to be there for her, even thousands of miles away. I know a lot of people who find it difficult to seek help from their loved ones. That's why I'm happy to say that there are plenty of different paths that people can go down to get that help. The anonymous environment that e-culture facilitates is one of those paths. Loneliness is an epidemic, but you don't need to know someone's physicalities, at least from my experiences. You don't need to know someone's physicalities to create support networks and create close relationships. In that sense, anonymity in e-culture has made it easier for people to open up, knowing that someone out there is listening and that they're not alone. In fact, I know plenty of people who have made their first friends online, on the internet. There really are people who struggle with social in-person interactions. In the head of a person with social anxiety, they find it difficult and they become anxious about making things awkward or ruining their first impression. Honestly, that happens with people who don't suffer from social anxiety. But when you talk to someone anonymously, online, you don't have to worry about the repercussions that come with in-person interactions. For example, when you type to somebody, when you message somebody, you can read your text over and over again, and you can carefully plan out what you want to say. But I want to clarify that social anxiety doesn't completely disappear in an anonymous online setting. But at least for me, it helps. So I want you to consider a couple of different things. Some people make their first friends online. They're putting themselves out there. They're making an effort. Most importantly, they're stepping out of their own comfort zone. So let them step out of their own comfort zone. Nowadays, you don't need to play online video games to meet people anonymously online. Instead, we have these Discord servers that allow for people in a group to interact with each other. And people can join these servers through a shared common interest. And that common interest can be as broad as simply wanting to make new friends. And that's how I met this guy from Sweden named Melvin. To put it as nice as possible, Melvin really didn't know how to keep a conversation going. For example, he would text me, "Hi," or whatever, and I would respond with, another greeting. I would respond with like, "Hey," or something like that. And more often than not, he wouldn't respond back. Weird. But I respected his effort. He was putting himself out there. Melvin wanted to step out of his comfort zone. And he used our Discord server as an escape from reality and an escape from his usual self. So me and my friends, my online friends that he also knew, we decided to help him. We initiated the conversations when he seemed like he didn't know how to. And gradually, he gained the confidence to talk to us in voice chat. And from there, we gave him advice as well. I'll say it again. Melvin wanted to step out of his comfort zone. And he did just that. He did it anonymously. And he did it pretty well. Because there's a happy ending to this story. Melvin, currently, is in university. And he's having the time of his life. For once in his life, he finally has the offline friends that he so desperately wanted. He spent so much time with his offline friends that sometimes we feel like he's forgotten about us. But either way, everyone that's helped him is so proud of what he's become. Melvin, to me, is the prime example of stepping out of your comfort zone and maybe not overcoming your social anxiety, but letting it, get better. Just like with mental health issues, sometimes taking that first step is the hardest. Some people, like Melvin, and other people who suffer through social anxiety, prefer to take that step anonymously. Mina and Melvin are real people just like my offline friends. but they differ in this one specific way. It's this idea of positive escapism. Now, I've been talking about others and other people's stories for this entire talk now, but this time I want to talk about myself. Positive escapism, the idea of positive escapism, hits closest to home for me. I won't be going into too much detail, but recently I've been going through a lot of tragedy. And sometimes it's hard to take your mind off those tragedies. Hanging out with my offline friends doesn't help most of the time, because oftentimes they're just a constant reminder of those tragedies. But when I hang out with my online friends, when I play video games with people who only know me as my gamer alias, or when I laugh with friends who don't even know what I look like, it's it's refreshing, and it's easy to take my mind off those tragedies, even if it's only for a moment. Those times is when I can finally find solace for my troubles. So, I want to give a quick thank you to my online friends who, perhaps unbeknownst to them, have provided me with peace in my darkest times. Friendships are not the only things that can emerge from this anonymity on the internet. Whole communities can emerge from this anonymous online environment. For example, let's take the video game community, or online video game community. For the most part, people in these online video game communities don't know each other by their real name. Instead, they only know each other by their gamer tag, or whatever they call it. But I want to dissuade the notion that you need some common interests to form a community. Instead, I want you to consider that these communities are full of people of different tastes, of different personalities, and of different interests. It seems like, arguably, the only thing connecting these people, the only thing making this community, is this sense of anonymity. In fact, this kind of concept of community building reaches this global scale, and it encapsulates this idea of globalization. My friend in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, just turned 21 this year. My friend in London, who I met a decade ago while playing MapleStory, recently got married. My South Korean friend, who I met years ago while playing League of Legends, recently got accepted to the top university in South Korea, and I fondly remember teaching him English. The point is, these e-friendships and resulting e-communities are not restricted by these limitations. They're not restricted by distance or geography or even language. Anonymity has allowed for the reduction of these barriers. Sometimes I think it's crazy that I met some of my best friends simply because we played the same game at the same time. Anonymity has allowed for this beautiful, beautiful community building, and I'm incredibly thankful for it. But I mentioned these positive things about e-culture, but it rubs me the wrong way if I don't mention the stigma behind it. A stigma that is, by all means, well, valid. You hear about it all the time in the media. You know, anonymity on the internet can lead to catfishing, manipulation, toxicity. These are valid things. Seriously, they're valid. And they're real. These issues become more and more prevalent as this online networking becomes more and more common. And that's why it's more and more important than ever to address these issues. Now, I'm not here to advocate for restrictions on the internet or something like that. I think that sort of goes against the supposed freedom that the internet offers. Instead, I think there needs to be a better education to help people traverse this social side of the internet. There needs to be a better education on this idea of stranger danger that accounts for the advent of the internet. But sadly, I won't be going into that too much because that's not really the focus of my talk. Instead, I want you to think about the things that I've said, the stories that I've told. I want you to start thinking about how when you engage in e-culture safely and with good intentions, the things that I've mentioned previously, all the stories that I've told, they really do happen. Speaking of stories, what better way to conclude this talk than with one final story? A while ago, I met somebody on the internet who represents this idea of friendship through anonymity and everything else I said extremely well. Her name is Arya. Now, Arya represents so much to me, so much. She represents this idea of why I want a better education to help people traverse the social side of the internet. She represents this idea of positive escapism. The fact that I will never know her. The fact that I don't know her and I never will allows me to talk to her about things that I've never talked to anybody else about. And it might not seem obvious at first, but Arya also represents the idea of globalization to me. Even though I don't know where she lives, for all I know, she could be my next door neighbor. She makes me feel more connected to the world around me. And in times when we feel isolated, something that I'm sure plenty of us have felt quite recently, feeling connected is one of the main things that keeps us going. And just like with my friends that are supposed to be in the audience today, I can rely on Arya, despite the fact that I don't know what she looks like and I don't know what she sounds like. She's still my friend. Anonymity is a concept that can be put into effect quite easily nowadays. Anonymity has allowed for people to interact with each other, not just with the people immediately around themselves, but with people who span the globe. And with these anonymous connections, it's easier for people to not just help one another, but seek help themselves. Whether it be in the context of mental health, social anxiety, or positive escapism. It seems like physicalities are seemingly obsolete. Intimacy transcends physicalities. I want to end with a quote from my friend Arya. Feelings don't happen because of facts. Intimacy doesn't occur because of some arbitrary physicalities. Instead, feelings happen because they happen. Thanks.